Hey, welcome to the 99, a ministry of Crossroads Grace Community Church in Manteca, California. I'm your host, Heather Mahoney, and at the 99, our goal is to reach our ones far from God by equipping the 99 to follow Jesus more fully. Each week, we take time to lean into the weekend message at Crossroads by expanding further into the topic or concept in greater depth. We hope it challenges you and creates a hunger to dive into scriptures so you can know Jesus better. If you want to best engage with us, make sure to catch this weekend's message at crossroadsgrace.org/series or by downloading the Crossroads app. Brian, welcome back. How was your first week of December?
I love December. Mm-hmm. So, are you a drive around, look at the lights person, or are you just like, I did my own lights, I'm good?
We sometimes try to, like once a year.
Is there other times that you would do it during the year?
No, I mean like one day a year. I guess I should rephrase, where we'll get in the car and drive around and try to find them.
It'd be kind of disappointing, like in March, be like, where'd all the lights go? No, anyway.
Yeah, it would be.
I love it. We got this guy right down the street. He's like the wannabe super light fan, where he's got. So, and apparently this is the 10th year he's been doing it. And so on the Facebook page, he's like, I've upped the ante this year. And I'm telling you, this guy works all throughout the night. Whoa. Like he sits in his truck and he sets up all the lights and stuff. He's got like a computer wired. It's insane. But yeah, Escalon's where it's at, man, if you want to see some good lights.
Maybe we'll have to drive to Escalon. We were talking about Christmas Tree Lane with the kids, but I don't know. Maybe Escalon's where we got to go this year.
I would do both.
We do both.
Anyway,
yeah.
But no, I'm excited. Are you? How are you feeling about December?
I'm feeling good. Things? I love it when it's brisk in the morning and at night, but the afternoon you say, this is nice. It's when it gets gray and cold all day, I say, okay, I'm a little bit tired, but we have a fireplace, so life is good.
That is good. Yeah. I grew up with clouds throughout the year, so I'm not used to like clouds for like 2 months, so and then blue skies the rest of the time. So, yeah.
That's it. Welcome to California, at least Northern California.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Since we've ended our Roman series, we have a couple weeks off from our Traditional Styles podcast. We'll resume that on January 5th for our second season of the 99 podcast. We'll dive into the book of John. Looking forward to that. But today, we have something fun. We have Q&A.
Woo-wee.
So fun. So a special thank you to all of those who submitted questions, some fun, some difficult, and some in between. I'm looking forward to them.
Yes, let's see what we got.
Before we dive into our submitted questions, I want to know if you'd be willing. I have a question for you.
Yes,
so
bring it on.
Whether it's from before your time in California, your last almost decade here, but what's, as a pastor, a crazy or a unique question that you wouldn't expect to get asked, but you do get asked?
Well, it's weird that you say almost a decade. That's like a long time. Isn't that crazy to think?
Yeah.
Like almost 10 years. Anyway.
You're a native now.
Am I?
You're stuck.
My blood is officially Californian. So I get asked just all kinds of questions, most of which should not be on the podcast, and that's okay. But the one that I get, and I'm guessing you get this also, is what do you do when you're not on the weekend? Like, what do you do when you're not preaching? As if like that's all we do. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, yeah. And so my wife is actually, she actually gets that too. She gets it asked at work all the time. And so her favorite is like, well, they put him in the small room and they lock the door and he only has the Bible and we push food underneath and then we just feed. And then when Sunday comes, we open the door and just, he comes out. So
the man is ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah. That's probably the one that just drives everybody nuts the most, because I don't know if there's this perception that that's all that happens in a church, or like that's the only thing that you really do. But they don't see the visits to hospitals and they don't see the meetings that we go through and stuff. I mean, like, how do you answer that question when somebody asks you?
Yeah, my first response is just say, well, to prepare for the weekend, which involves way more than just preparing for your 20, 30-minute preaching time.
Right,
it's the thought that goes into it. It's the brainstorming. It's the dreaming. But a lot of it is meetings, and then a lot of it is connecting with people. That's probably the most important thing we do, is just try to love people well. And it literally looks different for every single family, whatever stage of life they're in.
Well, I also think that connecting with people, like you said, should be a good chunk of what you do throughout the week, because that's it's what it is. Like we're
yep.
connecting with people, and I would think sometimes larger churches get a ding because people say, oh, they don't care about people. It's just about the whatever. And boy, I could say from our stand, I mean, we are constantly meeting with people and having meetings, whether of coffee or lunch or just having a meeting that's super serious. But those are the parts where people don't see that. It takes up probably more time than people would understand, but it really is the most rewarding in a lot of ways because it's like the boots on the ground ministry, and you do that so good with students and adults and all the people.
Well,
I mean,
and
it's a passion of yours
people
almost.
doing that for me too.
Yeah,
who go to Crossroads. They're doing the same thing
for
me that I'm trying to do for other people. So
yeah. So what are we doing between then? Lots.
That's true. Okay, our first question is obviously not a serious one, but the answer is no. And the question is, does Brian hate coconut more than Heather hates mayonnaise? I have a real problem with mayonnaise. Legitimate problem.
I don't even know how you quantify that. Like,
I don't think you can, but
because
I just really don't like mayonnaise, so I said no.
Yeah, I hate coconut. It's like eating old man hair. So
has anyone ever tried to sneak you some coconut?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, I bet.
100%.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's my wife. But when I left Chicago to come out here, we had a going away party with my staff at the campus I was at, and they gave me this really cool gift basket. But instead of like the Easter basket where you have those like little crinkly grass things and stuff, it was all coconut. Like it had to have been like 20 bags of coconut that just surrounded
shredded coconut. Was it sticky?
Yeah. It was disgusting.
Ew,
but
especially if it was sweetened coconut. That is funny.
So funny.
At least that's not like too scenty, because
What if we gave you a gift bag? And instead of Coke, we just filled it with mayonnaise.
No, Sean and I were working out this morning, and there was a commercial on TV, and it was a football player with mayonnaise, and then mayonnaise was stacked on the sides, and he was doing like the middle splits on the mayonnaise. I just thought, I like it even less than I liked it before, which was not at all.
Yeah, that is your...
I don't know.
Well, now I know what you're dreaming
about.
That's
like tonight, a nightmare for me, yeah. It's once you mix those... egg yolks, oil, and vinegar. I'm a downer.
Here it comes.
All right. Let's go to a serious question.
Let's give it.
Which is kind of a fun one. And it's, what can we give God this holiday season?
Well, I mean, probably the nuts of that question is like, hey, we are getting a lot from God this season when you think about Jesus and everything. And to what we give God, I don't know. There's some very practical things. The season is so busy. That sometimes just giving God our presence and our attention and our focus is maybe super hard for us because we have all these different things and parties we got to go to and these expectations we have to live up to. But man, just giving God our presence and our focus, like Preston was talking about last weekend with the Sabbath, just even understanding how important the Sabbath is to the holiday and focusing on Him and thanking Him for Him and being thankful for all that He's done, I just think is super, super important. And for us, like in ministry, it could be hard because this is the Super Bowl and like we're doing stuff all the time and it's all super important and everything is, it's got to be just right. And so I do think that at some point us being able to just let ourselves rest in the season and be able to sink into the of why we're doing what we're doing is such a beautiful thing because God does want something for us. I mean, he wants us to enjoy what He's given us instead of being stressed out about all the things that are around what He's given us. But I mean, for you, I mean, you've got all the crazy holiday stuff too. But what do you think? I mean, what would we give God this holiday season?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to my mind is our attention. Mm-hmm. And I think you already kind of mentioned that when you said time, but just our attention, that we would just start our day with Him, that there would be intentional time for Him. It wouldn't be an afterthought of, but that I would make time. It makes me think of Jim Todd, our care pastor, who you just know in the morning, and his kids have said for years, every morning they'd wake up and he'd be there reading it. And then sometimes we come to work and he has some quirky little analogy for us, but
all the time,
just that thought that you're like, oh, that is how he is starting his day, kind of thing. And that's what we should all be every day doing that. But I think every season we could find a reason not to. Every season we could find a reason to say, I don't have the time. But I just think Christmas, it's even easier.
Well, and as a parent too, you have these thoughts of like, I want to create these memories and these rhythms, and this year's going to be different, and so you just and there's oftentimes we put this pressure on ourselves to create this hallmark magical moment every second because we've only got these limited times. And I do that. Like I'm thinking of myself right now. I'm thinking, gosh, I want to do all the Christmas tree lanes, and I want to go to the place in Escalon. I want to do all the things, and I want to watch all the movies, and and those are all great. But if we're not like remembering the why behind all this is happening, we've kind of missed the point, So,
absolutely.
So I do think that there's some beauty in just sitting in what God has done and having a Sabbath and having this moment of just, okay, God, this is pretty powerful. Your Son coming from heaven to earth. That's what it's about. So, our presence. Yeah, just
I agree. Yeah, our kids at the end of Christmas have never said, "Oh, I didn't get enough gifts. I didn't get enough this." It's always like the gift of time.
Yeah.
That they want as a family together doing those things. And as parents, I want to be someone who's setting the pace with that, especially in my walk with the Lord.
Yeah, which is hard in ministry, but we do our very, very best for sure.
Okay, the next one, not a question. It's something to be celebrated, especially, I'm just going to say it, in this day, in this economy, in this inflation. And one of our listeners bought a house. So congratulations.
So if we could insert an applause track right now, or maybe just
picture the clapping.
Like fireworks. It would be amazing. But and maybe it's happening right now. I don't know. It could be. But congratulations. That's amazing. Way to go.
Yeah, you actually can hire Brian for sound effects. It's his side gig in his free time.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. He
very
doesn't have
limited.
free time.
Very limited.
This next question, I'm going to assume, it's an assumption, but that probably comes off of Preston's message, which was fantastic on the Sabbath.
Listen to that message.
And so then this question is, how do y'all balance all the things when you take a day off? What's a recharge like for you? And I know we chatted a little bit about that last week, but what is a recharge like for you? Because I know Preston gave a few examples. He said if you've got a little bit of a day, if you've got a portion of a day, the whole day, what's that look like for you?
Well, I'm kind of like Buddy the Elf, where I just need a good 45 minutes of sleep and we're ready to go. Like that little lithium battery.
This is true.
But I think that probably the crux of this question is, yes, a little bit about Sabbath, but I think there's also just not every day is Sabbath day.
True.
So there needs to be these small little windows where you're able to have a recharge or a balance. And so some people recharge by being by themselves. Some recharge by being around people. Like I'm kind of a recharge around people, but also the people usually are very selective. Like my family, I love to recharge around my wife and my kids. And those are, not that I don't love going to dinners and lunches and all that kind of stuff, but there's just something about being around your people. And you can just wear sweatpants and hang out and not worry about, all the things. And so for me, that's a huge balance. I mean, the pyramid of priorities is the grounding point for us all: God, spouse, kids, everything else. It doesn't change just because the holidays start coming around. So the balance that I try to see is I'll look at my calendar and I've got it different color coded. I'm sure you do too, of work stuff and personal stuff and whatever other stuff. And if you're looking at it and it becomes like too work heavy and there's not enough, for us it's blue, like hunt time, team hunt time, then I realize that I'm going to really close to probably burning out or being off balance. And so for me, it's being around those people. And if I take a day off, like perfect world, I love being in the mountains. I love hiking. I love being in nature. I think I talked a couple episodes ago about taking a nap on the beach, which is super fun.
Oh yeah,
but that's
Santa Cruz.
Very rare, but being able just to get away. And I've talked a lot about how I walk and read, and so doing two things at once is always super helpful for me. And I chew gum, so it's three things at the same time. But I just love...
So not resting.
No.
I'm just kidding. No, the question was recharging, so you're correct.
Yeah, exactly. But and exercise, I love to work out. I love just those are things that get me fired up. Baseball, I love coaching baseball. So those are different things that for other people may not be their thing, but for me it's my thing, and it helps me to keep my head a little bit balanced. And I mean, you've got a full crew, you got kids at home and everything. You probably fight the same stuff. Yeah,
totally. And if we're not intentional, it's pretty easy for things to be out of balance. But I would say Sean really likes making breakfast, which is very nice for me, which I like. So making breakfast, or just been on a big board game kick. So that's kind of nice. Lets you relax a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes we put on good music while we play board games. It just depends. Man. Really been into one called Sky Joe and Racco. Racco's an old throwback recently. So I don't know if anyone knows it, but yeah, not crazy.
If we'll get sponsored. Like maybe they'll sponsor this episode.
Yes, I'm sure.
Yeah. One thing that I think that maybe some of our listeners might, when this question starts to come up, is if you've got kids that are in sports or kids that are busy or kids that are, because you have like we just are cranking up volleyball season or club volleyball season for my daughter. She plays in Livermore, which is an hour some away, and so some people are like, well, gosh, I don't think your kid should be doing that, and you should be spending more time and all that. And I grew up in a sports family. I grew up in, and maybe so other people's is dance, or maybe it's a different, ours is sports. But I don't think, I never want people to feel guilty for having their kids involved in things and pursuing dreams that they have and being a part of team activity. My goodness, we know how important that is. But you have to be intentional about those moments. So like the drive to Livermore, or even just driving them to different places, maximizing that, using it as balance time, recharging time, good conversations. I mean, some of the best conversations I probably have with my kids are when we're in the car, we're headed to go to drop them off.
Yes.
You've got them captured in there. So I just don't want to put weird pressure on people that says, in order to have balance and recharge, you have to be playing the guitar around a campfire in the middle of the woods somewhere, that's the only way. But you just have to find really cool ways to do it. And I just think that's important for people not to feel guilty or stressed out if you're a busy family. I don't think there's something wrong with being a busy family. I think you just have to be intentional about how you find time in between the busyness. And I think it's important. So.
And you have to do what works for you. And every family is different, and that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, another question, very important. Where in the world did you get all of these cat sweaters that are Christmas-related cat sweaters, so they keep popping up?
Yes, I've got a friend in the church.
A dealer?
A dealer, if you will. I love her to death. I will not out her at all. And she's very sweet, and she finds me these horrendously amazing cat sweaters each and every year. And this year she's told me that she has found the one that will beat all other cat sweaters.
Okay.
She is.
It's coming.
And if she says this, I believe her, because you could see the proof in the pudding of the laser eyes cat sweaters and it's so I would love to hate better things that would but cats are the thing, and so I get lots of cat stuff.
Gotcha.
It's pretty interesting. So yeah. And it's also the kind of that fabric that doesn't necessarily breathe. You know what I mean?
Like, I know exactly what you mean.
It's like a sauna suit when you're wearing it for wrestling.
Yeah, it's a screen-printed cat sauna suit.
Yes, yeah. So that's where it comes from. I've got a cat dealer. It's a beautiful relationship, and I am eagerly awaiting. Yeah,
and you're making weight every time you wear one.
Every week.
You wear one nicely.
You didn't know that before you could preach
now
it.
You do. The things you learn on the 99 podcast. Okay, our next question is about theatrics in church. So we've got a question of somebody asking, what do you think about beach balls during service in a crowd? Which I know what we think about it. We did it before, and it was so fun. It was pre-service, or maybe during a fun song. That was great. But I think the question is coming from someone wondering, is there a place for that during a church service?
Yeah. This is a question that sometimes we get from different people. Some people will come from maybe churches that were, and I was one of those people. I grew up in a small church in South Dakota that we didn't have beach balls and we didn't do those types of things. We had 200 that attended, and some of them were livestock. Like this, how the type of church that we grew up at. So, but and then some people have a hard time, like I think, unclenching their fists when it comes to joy maybe that could be found in a church experience. And I always want to start off by saying that I think that there is a line, and there is too far is too far. I mean, there's certain churches that you can watch online where you've probably seen these on Instagram where the drummers are being lowered in on like wires and playing Little Drummer Boy and like these crazy theatrics.
They've got a lot of dollars to work with.
Some church in Texas, and just because you can do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should do something. There's lots of churches that are, a church in Tulsa that I could think of that just does crazy stuff. I mean, just to be crazy. I mean, I think there needs to be intentionality behind what you're doing. There should be a why behind it, and not just, we just want to be cool to be cool. I don't think that's necessary. But I don't have any problem on any level having fun in church. I believe we worship a fun God that is full of joy. He wants us to be able to enjoy the fact that we are saved, and that Christ is risen, and that there's beautiful things that should be a celebratory thing. And so, and I would also say that there are ways in which you can there are ways in which you can connect people to a message, connect people to a point that you could have a little bit more visual to it and a little bit more spice to it, a little bit more fun to it. That's not taking anything away from the reverence of the moment, but it might help people remember it better. Mm-hmm. And what I would want is I would want it to stick with somebody to think about what that was. So me using, the goofy T-shirts that I wear sometimes, like they have a connection with the message. It's meant to have people resonate and think about what the message was about later. Or sometimes we'll do songs that might be maybe secular in nature, but what I always love is when you can redeem a song from the culture.
Me too.
For something that's beautiful for Christ. And when maybe it's somebody that's new to their faith, or maybe doesn't have faith, but they came to a service and they turn on the radio a little bit later and they got that song comes on, they're going to think, hey, I think I heard that in that church the other day, and that maybe they could connect it with the message, and then you've redeemed this song to be able to do. We've done that several times, and Shauna is your husband, who's in charge of all of our creative and production stuff. He does such a great job with that. But in the reality of things, I think sometimes people can just be a little bit too tense and they need to loosen up. I'll just be straight up honest. Like, there are too many people that are borderline of being pharisaical and being more about like the rhythm and the black and the white and it can't be this, and boy, if you better leave, it should be like a chiropractor appointment. It shouldn't have been fun. You should have felt like you had something go. I mean, you just got to loosen up. I'll just be straight up honest. Like, it should be a joy to follow Christ. And you can do that with having a couple beach balls to keep kids in. I mean, goodness, if beach balls is your biggest issue, we had a snowball fighting service once at a candlelight service between all the kids and the adults. It was a blast. It was crazy, but we had fun, and it was Christmas. And we have snow machines at Christmas, and we do fun things. And I would just say sometimes we got to lighten up as Christians. I think people sometimes look at following Christ as this, oh my gosh, he's going to take all my stuff, and we can't have any more fun, and we got to, it's got to be suit and tie and all this kind of stuff. Just relax. Like, I think that we are going to be so blown away by what heaven and eternity looks like, because it is going to be unbelievably fun. Like, unbelievably fun. There's no more pain, there's no more tears, there's no more sorrows. What's left? Joy, unending joy, happiness, perfect health, where you can run around. You're not going to sit there Indian style and just be like, right. You're going to have a blast. And so why not have a little glimpse of that on this side of heaven, to be able to have people enjoy their time with God? I don't see there's anything wrong. Again, there's a line, if you're parachuting in and you've got a retractable dome for your church and you've got like paragliders coming in the middle, well, maybe that's a little bit different, but man, just a few beach balls and just having fun. I mean, let's just loosen up a little bit, enjoy the fact that we're saved, and there's joy that's found in the Lord. So.
Well, hey, we have a total of 10 questions, but Brian, I think this is a great stopping point for us. We'll pick back up our last 4 or 5 questions next week. So, Brian, thanks again for joining us. To our listeners, thank you for listening. As always, if you have any questions about what we've talked about or would like to submit a question yourself, please check the show notes, and we would be happy to connect with you and hopefully get to answer your question on air. I'm looking forward to next week. We are diving into the second half of our Q&A questions, as we are still on break from our normal season of the 99 podcast. And then stay tuned for what we have for the last couple weeks until Christmas. We will be back with our normally scheduled program on Sunday, January 5th, as we dive into the book of John. Thanks again for joining us today. Tag, you're it. Thank you for joining us today for the 99 podcast. We hope to see you next weekend at Crossroads on campus or online for one of our 4 services. To view our service times, be sure to check out our website at crossroadsgrace.org.